I wanted to take a few minutes to share my language learning story with you. Learning Spanish was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but also the most rewarding. Before I get into the details, on this channel, there's no passive listening. As I tell my story, I'll ask you to repeat sentences out loud from memory. When you see this symbol on the screen, it means it's a workout sentence, so pay close attention. I'll give you a couple tries to repeat it, and then we'll continue. This will help you to internalize new expressions and get out of your comfort zone. You might not remember everything, but by the end of the video, you'll be proud of the work you did. With that in mind, let's get started. A few years ago, I decided to learn Spanish. I always wanted to be bilingual, and after living in Chicago for years, I wanted to start helping people through volunteer work in the Spanish-speaking community. Even though I took Spanish classes in high school, I didn't learn anything. I was basically starting again from scratch. Even though I took Spanish classes in high school, I didn't learn anything. I was basically starting again from scratch. Even though I took Spanish classes in high school, I didn't learn anything. I was basically starting again from scratch. So where does someone who has no idea how to learn a language start? In a free language learning app. The app was a great way to start as a true beginner, but my problem is that I spent way too much time using only the app. In fact, I spent about 6 months with it. The main reason why I didn't do anything else is because I'm an introvert. I prefer to stay home and play a video game or piano instead of going to a bar and starting conversations with strangers, even in English. That meant speaking Spanish to anyone before I was fluent was really scary. I was so afraid of talking to real people that I even went so far as to look for apps that let you have fake conversations with chatbots to practice. As you can imagine, at the end of 6 months, I was really good at answering questions in apps, but when it came to actually speaking or understanding Spanish, I could hardly do either. My big wake-up call happened when my wife and I went to Spain on a vacation. I remember the first night we were there, we went to this restaurant, and I was pretty nervous and a little excited about trying to speak to the waitress in Spanish. And so she comes up to us, she says something in Spanish, and I completely froze. I couldn't understand anything that she said, and I had no idea how to respond. She then did something that's really annoying for most language learners. She started to speak to me in my native language. I was so disappointed. I got better towards the end of the trip, but there were still far too many instances where I had to use English. I got better towards the end of the trip, but there were still far too many instances where I had to use English. I got better towards the end of the trip, but there were still far too many instances where I had to use English. When I got home, I knew I had to try something different. I gained enough confidence to download a new app, Hello Talk, which lets you speak to native speakers of any language. Now, working with Hello Talk was very useful. It gave me more confidence and it helped me to use the things that I already knew, but something was still missing. I still had to use online translators to figure out how to respond to people, and I didn't always understand what they were saying. At that point, I started to think that I just wasn't talented enough to learn a language, and I was ready to quit. That's when I discovered deliberate practice, and it changed my language learning forever. The first thing that I learned is that I didn't have a talent problem, I had a noticing problem. Anytime a Spanish speaker used something that I wasn't used to, like a new pronunciation, expression, or structure, my brain just ignored it. Instead of learning from those experiences, I didn't even realize I was having them. That's why people who move to a foreign country don't always become fluent in the local language. A ton of immersion is no good if you don't focus on the details of what makes native speech different from yours. A ton of immersion is no good if you don't focus on the details of what makes native speech different from yours. A ton of immersion is no good if you don't focus on the details of what makes native speech different from yours. Deliberate practice changed that. I learned new methods that forced my brain to pay attention to details that it normally ignored, and new methods that forced me to use expressions and constructions that were new to me. The big difference with deliberate learning is this idea between active and passive practice. Passive practice is what you do when you watch TV or listen to a podcast without doing anything else. It's a great way to test what you already know, but it's not so good for learning new things. Active practice requires you to interact with the content you're consuming by producing language at the same time. Exactly like what you're doing in this video by repeating sentences out loud. Now, don't get me wrong, deliberate practice isn't a magic bullet. It will challenge you, and you won't be fluent after just 1 week. It requires daily practice and patience, but it's incredibly effective. Over the course of the next year, everything started to change for me. I started to understand a lot more of what people were saying, and I could finally speak incomplete sentences. My confidence continued to grow, and I started having conversations with strangers after all. My confidence continued to grow, and I started having conversations with strangers after all. My confidence continued to grow, and I started having conversations with strangers after all. I even gained enough confidence to start volunteering at the local high school teaching English to native Spanish speakers. My big test came when I had the opportunity to go back to Spain. This time, instead of completely freezing and spending the whole trip speaking English, I spent the entire week speaking only in Spanish. There are always new things to learn, and I still study Spanish even today. But thanks to deliberate practice, I can now say that I can speak a foreign language. Everything that I learned about learning a language, I'm putting into the Deliberate English online course. The course is designed to help you get out of English intermediate purgatory through active practice. You won't just be watching videos, you'll be speaking and using English at the same time. Everything you do will be reviewed and corrected by native speakers. This will help you notice your blind spots and sound more natural. You'll also be surrounded by an active community of motivated students that will challenge you to get out of your comfort zone and boost your confidence at the same time. To learn more about the Deliberate English course, go to deliberatenglish.com to join the waitlist. There's a link in the description below. As a gift, I'll send you my free 15-minute workout guide. The guide explains some of my favorite deliberate practice techniques, and you can use them right away to start improving your English. By the way, just to show that this works, I want to say one more thing in Spanish. Bueno, aunque a veces parezca que aprender inglés es un reto insuperable, te juro que no lo es. Tú eres capaz de dominar cualquier idioma y no te falta talento. Lo único que te falta son las técnicas y consejos adecuados para no dejar de estudiar por falta de motivación. Este es mi compromiso. Haré todo lo que pueda para enseñarte lo que aprendí y ayudarte a lograr tus objetivos con el inglés. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.